Well, hello everyone. As you can tell, I'm still a little bit under the weather and congested, but I'm going to try to fight through with everybody tonight. Hopefully, you all are doing well. I was just looking for something that I shared earlier today on Facebook, and I was going to bring it up here, but now for some reason I can't find it. Maybe I have to change this. Let me see. Filter. Oh no, it's too much right now. But anyway, Clemson University has a. You might look it up. Clemson University is having a study for beekeepers in North Carolina and South Carolina. I think there's a couple requirements. One of them, I believe, is you have to have at least 10 colonies. May be an issue, of course, if you're in Western North Carolina and you've lost some bees. But who knows? That may be a way to also maybe get some new bees. Maybe Clemson would allow, you could negotiate a deal here. They provide you some bees and able to do the study on the bees in your area. So might be something to look at. I just can't find the post at the moment. I haven't made too many posts today, so I thought it'd be easy to find. And no, it's not showing up like it should in my feed. So I'll continue to try to find that. And if I find it, I'll try to share it. But anyway, today, 80 degrees, South Carolina. It was, the 21st of January. So 2 weeks ago, it was snowing. Today, 80 degrees. I think beginning of next week, it's going to be back down cold again. It's going to drop down, colder. So this is kind of that up and down that I experience every year at this time. The good thing is, yeah, Brad's got a meeting tonight. He won't be coming in, but glad you stopped by in the chat for a minute, Brad. But we get that up and down, right? So obviously I've already pollen patted them. I've given them some Appy tablets, and that's it. They're on their own now. They had some natural pollen coming in. Going to give them, the few weeks to do what they got to do with their pollen, and hopefully, if they're bringing in pollen, that'll stimulate that queen to get her little behind busy out there and lay up some brood, so we can start, splitting. And yeah, Bill, it's very weird weather we're having. And we are trying to just make the best of what we got. Update from last week. Job interview people have been asking me about, and I am happy to announce that job interview went poorly. And I'll explain. Because the company that we went to interview with set a schedule, and it was a big poop fest over there. I mean, it was bad. There was just a lot of people. It was almost like a job fair or something where there was a bunch of people. And immediately they asked who had experience. People raised their hand. They pulled you off to one side. The person I had been dealing with in recruiting had me slated to go to another area, but because one of their employees pulled us in a different area, they wanted me to go work at the prison. I didn't want to go work at a prison. So after being in there and filling out paperwork, that lady that had me scheduled to go somewhere else came and got me, which kind of put me in the back of the queue to go see the people that were hiring for the Amazon position. And my 11:30 appointment, at 1:30, I was still sitting there. And by the time she pulled us in, well, they already had their slots filled. So it was like, well, you can call us back and try to come back next week. Well, I've been sick. I had 104.8 degree fever Wednesday evening after coming back from the interview. So been feeling bad ever since. And so that kind of squashed that. But I filled out an application today. was asked to do a survey and all online, and then they sent me back another response asking me to do an interview. So I've kind of been escalated up, and tomorrow I have an interview. It's a video interview like this, to go work for Spectrum in sales, not in installation or anything like that. But so we'll see how it goes. But for me, at my age and health level, I think sitting behind a computer is much better than sitting in the back of a bread truck or trying to be a security at a prison. So I think at the end, God knows what he's doing. He put me where I needed to be, and hopefully that works out. So I'm excited for that opportunity tomorrow, and we'll keep you posted if anything changes. But anyway, that's kind of what's going on in the world of Bob. Other than that, my little bee yard that could is still, they're bringing in pollen and doing what they need to do. So it looks like we're going to make it into the season. And as long as we don't have an extended cold period here that kind of squashes everything down again, we should be all right. Yeah, Gary, I've been a bread man for several years too, throughout it, off and on since 96 or 7, I guess. And it will, your knees go bad, your back goes bad, everything. So it's one of those things, Work at the airport? That wouldn't be bad. Work at the airport. Yes. So when I filled out the application, it says, was I available for nights? I said no. So it should be a day job. If it's a day job, then, I might have to work some Saturdays and stuff like that, but it should be a daytime job. Oh man, Pepperidge Farms franchises are expensive nowadays. I have a friend of mine that's doing about $15,000 a week in Pepperidge Farms bread sales, and he has his route on the market for like $350,000. So yeah, it's economics, guys. I can't overstate the economic impact that's for me personally. I like to share a lot of personal things on here that some people like and some people don't like. I do like the fact that people that watch this channel do have a little bit more insight to who I am and what I've done. So after working in the pharmaceutical industry for several years, I left that. My wife left her job. We moved back here to take care of my mother that was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I guess it's 6 years ago now. And which also started me on the journey of beekeeping. But in the meanwhile, we knew my mom was going to pass at some point. We didn't really think she was going to diminish as fast as she did. And we were able to get things in order to bury her and all that stuff and get her finances squared away. However, her bills. I do have a military base. I've got a couple military bases nearby. Shaw Air Force Base, McIntyre Air National Guard, and then we've got the Fort Jackson Army Base. And so when she passed this past December, or December 24, it's been a year now. So, all of the finances that she had coming in that were paying for, the house and utilities and all that got passed on to me. So where I could do a small job or a little job and sell honey and make what I needed to make, well, that changed drastically when she died because all of her funds stopped. So it made me have to take on everything, which has been a huge challenge, and which is why I've had to take jobs and miss streams and do things like that aren't optimal for what I wanted to do with the YouTube and all that. But it is just, everybody's got to do it. You just got to do what's best for you and your family and keep it going. So hopefully everything works and everything keeps going like it is. That's the plan. But, that's all day to day. Roy said he just got another foot of snow today. Bob, one of our neighbors used to work in pest control, but she got a job doing pest control directly for the university. Good benefits. Oh, that's our university here contracts that work out to pest control companies. So, including the one I had. Oh, look who we got here. Somebody you guys haven't seen in at least 24 hours. Sawmill Charlie, ladies and gentlemen. Sawmill Charlie. Yeah. Hey, Charlie.
Hey.
How you doing tonight?
Not too bad.
How's things up in your neck of the woods?
Well, it was a little bit warmer than what it was Monday. And the bees actually were flying today.
Notice any pollen coming in or anything?
Yeah.
Not yet?
We're not that far. It'll be a month.
We've been bringing it in for about a week now, I guess.
You just said you had, what was it, 80 degree weather?
80 degrees today. Actually, it was 80, but it felt like 83, right? It was weird because I was cold in the house because the AC was blowing all day long. So it was kicking in here today.
Well, we still got the heat on, and I got the heater on right now.
And then tomorrow, or in the next couple of days, it's going to plummet back down, and it's going to be cold again.
Well, Monday, hi Clay and Randy. Monday, it's supposed to be 50 degrees. It was probably 45 to 47. The bees weren't flying. I made that video I just posted.
I haven't had a chance to watch that one. I just did see it.
I fed the bees sugar bricks and pollen patties. And so today it was windy, but it was a little bit warmer. It was warm enough where the bees were really out flying. And hey, Matt. And anyway, the nukes that I didn't see the bees up in top, except for one of the nukes where I put a patty on and they had eaten the patty I'd previously I just stuck it on there and just see whether or not they would come up. And they did. And so all them nukes were flying. So they're alive. Everything right now is alive from what I can tell. And some are stronger than others. I got 110 framer there that I didn't put anything on it because it really didn't take a whole lot. And I don't know whether it's just, that's definitely a candidate for a queen replacement.
Well, I had a single deep 5-frame nuke that I was not aware that there was any bees in there. I've checked. I had removed the little feeder jar off the top, looked down the hole, and didn't ever see anything there. But the last several days I've been seeing bees, and I was like, well, maybe they're just robbing out something that was left in there or something. But no, I see pollen going in now. So it's like, yeah, they're still in there. I didn't pop the top and go through it or anything like that because, if they're little, I don't want to disturb anything they're doing right now to get their little 5-frame nuke in order. But I thought there was no bees in there. So I do have one nuke that did make it. So hopefully it'll grow big enough, to be transplanted in a few weeks into a 5 or 10-frame box, or maybe put another 5-frame on top and let them start working up and get things going. So I'm hopefully optimistic with it. And that's where we're going to go with it, man. We're just going to do with what we got, right? We're going to make it work.
Yeah.
Hey,
got Billy Lee's comment there. He liked the observation inner covers. Yeah, you can go to what are they? Beetlejail.com, I think it is. That's where I bought them from. Actually, I got the idea from Brian C. down in Memphis. He has them on his highs.
Next week, I'm supposed to have a guest that's never been on the stream before. He watches it, but typically not on Tuesday night because he's got other commitments like half of the month with the American Legion. But he's going to be coming in. We tentatively next week on the 11th.
Who's coming in?
Malcolm McGibbon. So he's out in Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got, I think he's got over 100 hives out there.
Is that one of the guys on the Facebook page?
Yeah, he's on Facebook. Yeah, he's on Facebook.
He texted me or told me, he enjoyed my video.
He's been keeping bees for quite a while, so it'll be neat to have somebody that really hasn't been on before, some new blood, if you will, to pop in and to hear their experience and what they're doing. I believe he's a Marine Corps veteran. He's an older gentleman, right? He's a little bit older than you or I, but it'll be nice to get his opinions and stuff. He's talked to me about a bunch of different ways of doing stuff he said he wished I was closer because then we could work a little bit closer together to try to figure out what's going wrong. But with everything, we're going to do what we can do. Right. So,
right.
And that's what I love about this community, because I've called people, asked questions. I mean, I'll pick the phone up and call Charlie on a Saturday and we'll talk for an hour. You know what I mean? It's just,
unless you're sick like you were last week.
Do what? Yeah.
You're sick like you were last Saturday. You're
man, I've been bad. I still got it. You could probably still hear it in my voice, but
you still got a scratchy voice.
I sound like Bobby Kennedy right now. RFK Jr. is just like, just that rough sounding voice.
I look at that guy and I don't know, what did he do? He looks so rough. He looks like he's been rode hard and put away wet.
Sound like you smoked about a carton of Marlboros a day for about 50 years,
Something.
But it's very nice when you have a support staff of people that have
well, as far as my forecast goes,
thank you, DC.
It was about, let's say 45, 47 Monday. Today, it was about maybe 50. And the bees were flying.
So right now,
tomorrow night I get an ice storm coming in.
So right now, with where you are in the year and I'll say your season, even though it hasn't officially it has, right? It has for beekeepers, not really for the bees. You're still doing stuff. It could be like Brian and at Flower Street said he was scraping boxes and propolis and getting ready. What are you doing right now, Charlie? Are you doing anything specific or extra? Or
I'm feeding and I'm putting pollen in, patties in. And this year,
are you going liquid feed right now, or are you just doing fondant?
Sugar cake. I don't do fondant. Too expensive. I just went down the basement tonight. I got 2 sheet cake pans. They're about an inch and a half deep, I think.
Yeah, I believe you showed them to me when I was there.
Yeah, they're like a normal cookie sheet with a little, I'll say inch
deep ledge on
the side. They're, I don't know, 2 feet long, 30 inches long, and let's say 20 inches wide or something like that. But anyway, I got them marked to where I can put a layer of moist sugar in there, and I can score it. I got a pizza cutter here over the weekend. That's better than a knife.
So you score it while it's still wet, and then allow it to dry in a smaller portion.
And then I got lines I can rescore it because it'll kind of squish in. So I got enough for 32 little cakes that are, I don't know, they're 4 inches wide and 6 inches long. And what I found is I fed, and when I feed to the point where them bees will not take anymore with 2-to-1 sugar water. and that's between September 15th and October the 15th. And by November, the brood is done with. They should be pretty much broodless, and
Right.
and all that. So maybe while I'm feeding, there is some brood in it. They can't fill those frames, but they've taken down to the point where they just will not take anymore, and that's when I start taking the feeders off and leapfrogging the feeders from one hive to the next, to the ones that are still taking it down, to the point where I kind of
Everybody gets some.
idea when I better stop making 40-gallon batches.
Right.
So they were full. And then I go in there, I'll say it was a relatively, well, sort of 45-ish degree day on the chilly side. And I went through some of those I got some double deeps this year. And I pulled some frames up out of the center, and they're empty and empty and empty and empty. Now, I didn't bust the hive open or nothing like that. Way too cold. And I did find like frame 1 and 2 and on the left-hand side were full of honey. So I pulled one of those frames up, and of course the bees were off to the right-hand side. And I slid that frame in there right next door to them so they could have something they could jump on, because they're going to starve if there's nothing over here on the right side and everything's way over to the left, and it's empty frames from there until you get over to frame 1 and 2. They're going to starve in a couple of days.
Right.
So we had that big cold snap that everybody got, and way in the deep south with snow and all, like you did. And I was sitting there stewing, worrying over it. So as soon as that was over, we had and it wasn't this past Sunday, it was a Sunday before. It had a relatively mild, by the time I got through all of them, it was 47 or something like that. And I went through them all. I put the feeder shims on. I put the pollen patty on, not a pound, but a little half piece. And I put sugar bricks on. And hey, Jack and Danette. And so I did all that. And then it was a week and a half later, and we had another window of Monday, and that was it, because I knew the day was going to be maybe warmer, but it was going to be windy, which makes it colder. And I don't like the bees to be exposed to that while I'm trying to work on them. So I took off a half a day on Monday, and I got them fed and made a video. And some of them had just blown through everything. Some of them had eaten 3/4 of it, pollen patties and sugar. Some of them ate all the sugar and maybe had a quarter of a pollen patty left or a half a pollen patty left, what I gave them and all that. So I replenished the money. Some of those highs were like, something that I didn't show on the video, which I should have done it after I thought about it, is that there was a clump of bees up on the inner cover, them wooden inner covers. And I mean, must have been 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of bees up there, because I got about 1.5 inches shim
right
on there. And I finally, the ones right behind me, closer to the end down there was one like that. And I mean, they were a ton of bees in that hive, and everything was totally gone. Hey, Brad, totally gone at that hive, and I see, and I what I did was I just kind of opened up the lid this way of the inner cover and hinged it from the front. And I'm like, and I had said, you know what, if I get one like that again, the pollen patty comes in, I think about 1 foot or 15 inches long. And I said, I'm just going to put the whole darn thing in there. On that one there, I just laid the whole thing on there, went the length of the darn hive. And then I put in several sugar bricks, and I had made some, I don't know if anybody knows anything about it, but I tried to put pollen powder in my sugar mix, and I don't know whether I got it too wet or because of the pollen powder, it just wouldn't set up like a little brick. It was crumbly and all that stuff. So I had to take a pancake turner, whatever you call them things.
Spatula.
Is it a spatula? I thought a spatula was a handle with a blade on it where you sit there and you use it for, scraping something out. But I'll call it a pancake turner. I had one of them, found one, and I just.
Or as my mom liked to use it, it's called a whooping stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leaves those special marks on you.
That's a spatula.
With the little holes or the slots in it.
I used to like the fly swatter, and then the plastic would come off. It looked like a chicken walked on your butt.
Yep.
Well, anyway, I had one sheet cake pan full of that stuff, and I loaded it up with that, a lot of it, and they seem to like the white stuff better than the ones with the pollen powder in it. So I got rid of it in the hives, and I made up 2 more sheet cake pans tonight before I came on. And
David Pyle said it's called Palais de Poisson. Charlie.
I don't speak French.
Hey, I definitely don't like my streams to be 100% about products, right? That's not the goal of the channel. However, that's my swarm lure. Everybody on here pretty much knows it. And last year, for 2024, we had a competition, and I'm hoping to do the same competition this year. But if you don't know what the reward was for last year, someone won it with 55 swarms caught with my swarm lure. They won a ring. They won this ring, right here. And a nice case, little display case. It's not like a Super Bowl. It looks like a Super Bowl ring, but it's a decorative thing for your desktop. This year, I'm hoping to do the same thing again, but it's not going to be a ring as the bounty, I guess. It's going to be over the top. I've pretty much mentally decided it's going to be over the top, and I'm going to. The winner this year will get a championship belt, like WWE type championship belt with the big plate in the middle and everything. It's going to be over the top, right? You're going to have crap talking ability to say that you were the champion this year. So basically, it's a simple competition. And obviously, you have to catch a swarm. With the swarm, usually a video clip. If you're a YouTuber and you make a YouTube video of you catching the swarm with the swarm lure in the video and you tag me in it, make sure you send me the link, because everybody pretty much can get in touch with me. Last year, the winner actually sent everything by text. So it was I was getting them by text, by email, by tag. You just got to make sure I get it, because if I don't see it, I can't track it. And if I can't track it, I can't keep it going. So that's going to be a good fun. It was a fun thing. It was neat to see everybody's swarms they were catching. I think Tom up in Ohio caught 30 something, and it was fun to see kind of tracks. Oh, this person's winning. Then all of a sudden I'll get 10 videos from somebody saying I caught these 10 swarms, and they're all different boxes and different locations because they've gone out and in the trees and checked all their traps they put out, right? So it was really kind of fun and something to follow. So I personally, I'll be honest with you, I'm not the guy walking through the woods, right? That's not what I do with my swarm traps. I usually just try to protect my apiary and keep swarm traps around, or baited hives around. So if one of my hives decide to swarm, that there's a chance I can catch them. Right. I usually end up having to get them out of one of my usually the top of my tallest tree is where just outside of the reach of my ladder and 30-foot pole, right? Just enough to make it dangerous for myself to catch. It is where mine usually go. So
that's when you break out your buckshot.
Yeah, I know. I need to watch your videos and break out the buckshot. I might do an interest, take my 9mm out and see if I can just snipe it out.
You cut the branch. They coming down. Hey Charlie, I wanted to tell you about you said about the pollen in the sugar
Yeah.
cake.
Yeah.
I made some before, but you have to ball it, like almost invert it. You take your sugar, you just put your sugar, add a little bit of water, and you get that sugar melted,
Yeah.
and then you add your pollen substitute to it.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. I added my pollen substitute after I balled the sugar, and once it balled to, I think it was like what, just when it barely started balling at the lowest temperature, cut it off, add the pollen, and you pour it on those little trays, and then it gets hard. Because I did that last year, and I made a bunch of them, and they
Did
like
the
it.
bee did the bees like them that way?
Oh yeah, yeah. And it wasn't crumbly. It was like your little white sugar cakes you had.
Yeah.
They were just like that, except they were golden with the bee pollen. And this year I ended up, I didn't make none this year, but at the expo I bought those damn it winter patties,
Yeah.
and they have pollen in them,
Which
and
ones
they
did you
eat
buy?
they eat they eat those up.
Which patties?
Day damp.
Oh,
They
Dadan. Is that
yeah
the B Pro or something?
AP23 or something.
yeah that
23?
that right there,
Okay.
and they love it.
I bought for the first time this year because I saw a report that it was good for the bees. However, my bees must not think it's very good for them because the when I put it in the dry feeder, they didn't want anything to do with it. But I bought Mega Bee. Now, when I made it into a pollen patty, they ate it. But if you put sugar in anything, if you put poop in there with sugar in it, they'll probably eat that too. You know, it's just the nature of the sugar, I think. So we'll see how it goes with that this year. I had somebody that had 100-pound box or a 50-pound box, the big box from Man Lake, that wanted to trade me that for honey, a beekeeper. And I was like, well, I actually still have that and a 50-pound bag of Mega Bee, so I don't need any more pollen. And so if you want honey, you can come buy it.
If they're not taking any pollen powder, then you got natural pollen coming in, don't you?
Typically, when I put it out, though, there was none. Right, it was in winter, and I was like, well, if they need some and they're flying, they'll come and get it, but they never did. So, all right. So Vincent said he had the same problem with Mega Bee. They wouldn't do it. Hey, Chris, I got a product for you, man. If the wax moths tore up a bunch, I've got that hygienic boost.
Who makes Mega Bee?
Mega Bee is their own company.
Okay.
So, but I read a report. I want to say it was Randy Oliver's page that had a chart of different pollen supplements.
It was.
And Mega Bee was like the best one that he put on there. So maybe they just prefer it in the pollen patty instead of in.
The only problem I had over the years, I got some pollen powder left over, and it's from Man Lake, the Ultra Bee, and you can put it out in a bucket and they'll suck it down. You know, when you got, several buckets of it, they'll take a couple pounds of it in a day, but then they load your brood chamber up with pollen bound frames. And they don't really eat it after they put it in there. And it's kind of like you're giving them something to do all the time. So I started doing the pollen patties. And then really this year is the first year I really kind of dialed it in that, and here the maple trees will start blooming mid March, I guess. And by that, when that happens, just forget about pollen patties or anything like that.
Charlie,
and I was always behind.
What's the name of that jacket? It was from Foxwoods Bee Company, but it's
Foxhound, isn't it?
Foxhound. Yeah. It's a foxhound handling.
But what you remember what they call it? The
well, now they rebrand. I'm going to have the owner of the Foxhound Bee Supply Company come on hopefully next month. And now he has rebranded it. It's called the Sting Stopper.
Yeah,
And
I tried it
Stop.
on at the expo, but he didn't have. They won't have it available to sell until like later on this year, I think.
yeah, the one I got, it's just like Brad up in Faith Apiaries. It's got the green look to it. The new one, I looked at it. The pockets are located a little bit different. They're bigger pockets. He's worked on some Velcro. That's the one thing about that jacket I like the thumb loop is a real heavy duty elastic loop. It isn't little something quarter-inch wide. This is about at least a half-inch wide, if not an inch wide. All the elastic around the waist, the belt band, I guess you would call it, and then around the sleeves, it's Velcro where you can tighten. It's got elastic, but you can tighten that sleeve up to where it's just right around your wrist. And it's just got a lot of good ideas about it. Now, like all those vented suits, you'll catch something with them because that's just the nature of them.
For me,
Like,
I'll catch fires. What'll happen is because it's still
well,
hot.
mine is I got those telly covers, and they got they folded the tin on the top. A lot of times my arm will catch it, scratch it or whatever. But it's a good suit. I really like it a lot.
Well,
I like it better than any one I've ever had.
it should be. There should be like a stage of beekeeper, right? So when you say stage of beekeeper, meaning like a phase. So when bee season's in, everybody's excited and motivated when it starts. By the end of it, you're starting to get tired. And by the beginning of winter, you're burnt out. And then you sit in there waiting and waiting and waiting and hoping you have bees survive. And then about this time of the year, I start getting excited again, ready to go,
Yeah. And that's what I like about beekeeping. It's seasonal. And by the time October rolls around, or maybe around September, I'm tired. I'm ready to put the bees to bed and take a break. And one thing I have done, it's like I do my OA vapor November and December. Now January's been too cold to do much of anything, and it was like that last year. And but I'm only hitting them twice a month with the OA, and I've cleaned them up, and it's still beekeeping, but at least it's not as intense as it is in the summertime.
And for me, where someone like Brad, I feel like, or you could even say Ian, right? When it's time to go, they have so many colonies, they have to be 100% ready to go. I don't with a smaller amount of colonies, because I can, if I need 10 boxes of drawn comb, well, I just make the 10 boxes up, make sure they're 100% drawn comb, and get it, put it together. And if I need to wax frames, I don't have to do them all in the wintertime to make sure I could, when honey flow starts, I can just start dropping, because I've got enough drawn comb already that if I don't get any extra right now, then it's no big deal, right? I just have to make sure the ones I put in there are ready for the bees. So
I do some stuff in the wintertime. I mean, if I'm
live streams, you do a lot of live streams.
I took a count tonight. I mean, I'm taking those double deeps out of the mix. I'm going back to, I like my mediums. And I looked at the basement and I counted how many medium boxes I got. I got enough in the basement that will replace all those brood boxes for those 5 hives. And there's so many more out in the other building. And I got to have so many of them for honey supers. And so I'm contemplating about maybe buying 12 or 15 boxes. I got to do another count. But, you got to if you do, you got to go down the basement and you got to paint them things. I don't have a dipper around me or
right.
Waxing.
And because of the amount of colonies that we run, to buy a dipper or something to dip in really is not.
It is not feasible.
I mean, the tank itself is probably the cheapest thing of the whole deal, right?
That's right. We're
I
talking
mean,
about
Brad could throw an old stainless steel sink on a stand, right, and a crawfish boiler underneath it,
Mm-hmm.
and heat it up. But
the
he'd
wax
probably
is so
need
expensive.
$1,200 worth of the wax to go in it, right?
and $1,200 worth of propane.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean,
It takes hours to get that stuff hot and melted. And
so
you got to buy that crystalline wax stuff.
yeah, the
and
microcrystalline.
microcrystalline, and that's not cheap. You'll spend thousands of dollars just getting enough in the dipper. That's why Brad goes to that commercial guy up there. It's cheaper that way.
Well, if you have a excuse me, if you have the opportunity, like up there, it makes sense for all of their equipment to be wax dipped, for sure. I mean, really, it makes sense to get wax dipped equipment anyway, if that's what you want, so you don't have to continuously paint, and you know.
Well, I've been at it for going on 16 years. I know I've noticed one box in the basement. There's a little rotten spot. I know I've had rotten bottom board, 10 frame. I've had
migratory covers up here for me get decimated, especially if you like the ones that I bought from, I guess they came from Man Lake. I'm probably pretty sure, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure they were.
They'll take the wood instead of one piece of wood for the top, right? They'll take two pieces of wood and they'll just kind of stick them together and then put furring strips along the top, right, to hold them together. And then you got that seam in the middle. So if you drill out a feeder hole in it, well, now you've got a spot there that could start rotting, right? Or it'll start to warp because of the moisture or something. So it's one of those things. Yeah, that's it. The lids, they just hold water or rot through.
But I mean, for me, I have not lost. I mean, I've had one box, as far as I know, it's bad, and I had 2 different size bottom boards, and that's pretty much it.
What I got that rots is anything I make out of plywood.
Out of plywood?
Yeah, if I make the covers or the bottom boards out of plywood, they rot after.
Now, I'll tell you what, that Bob Binney lid, if you're ever at Nobby or Hive Life, I got mine at Hive Life. I bought a few of them when he was there. And that thing, I mean, just how they came from him. I didn't do anything else to them.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they were the day that I got them. I mean, they're.
I wish I could buy some of that plywood around here. They don't sell it nowhere around here.
Yeah, I think he has to buy it by the skid, right? He doesn't just buy it by the, like a few sheets at a time. He buys it like maybe by the truckload. But that stuff is very nice. Yeah, I've used Eco Wood too, and for some reason I don't know, and it's me, because if I leave a box sitting down or a lid sitting down or something like that, boy, will the ants or whatever will just burrow holes in that wood. They'll just trenches in it, right? So Eco Wood I liked I liked Eco Wood. The only thing I didn't like about, I don't even think it was an Eco Wood problem. I think it was a box issue, because I bought the boxes assembled already, and I bought them from a beekeeping supply company here locally. And that beekeeping supply company that should know you need to glue boxes before you staple them and everything, didn't. They don't. And when you get the moisture, the frame rests just go, and then the frames want to drop down, right? When it gets some weight of bees on it or something, it wants to pop down. So
yeah, because I did some nukes and some hive top covers in eco wood, and they still doing good.
That's good. That's good to know that they're still hanging in there for it.
As far as the treat, because I got all the when I first started beekeeping, I was making all my stuff. All the bottom boards I made out of treated plywood, and it's still at the ends opened up the plywood after a couple of years. Anyhow, it was treated plywood, and you can try painting them edges and stuff. It just seems like that. I guess all the moisture we have down here, it just
You
opens
almost
up the
can't buy
ends.
enough paint to paint the ends of plywood because it just goes
Yeah, it
sucks
just
in and
keeps
keeps
soaking
sucking
it
in.
up. But I started making them out of solid wood, and that's a lot better. Just getting some 1x12s and even like button up the wood together for the hive tops and stuff because they propolize that crack if there is any crack. What I usually try to do is glue it and then I bind it together before I screw my little cross beams. And usually there's no crack. But I started and I did make 5. I just finished them 5. Because I got a lot of 8-frame equipment and it's hard to find some 8-frame equipment stuff. But I made some hive top covers out of some PVC board. You know what they use for like the flashings of houses instead of wood. They make it out of PVC, and you don't have to paint it or anything. I just cut it, put it together like a regular, like a 1x12 or 1x8, and they came out good. I like them.
Okay. Yeah, you do a video on them? Are you going to?
No, I didn't do a video of me making them, but I will show what they look like.
Now, is that PVC board? It's probably more expensive than regular lumber.
It is more expensive. Yes, it's very expensive. But by the time I only bought I think 3 or 4 boards, and I made 5 covers. So it's cheaper than buying like a plastic cover that's like $40 a piece. Like they got them B Pro plastic
Right.
covers that you can buy, and they came out sturdier and they feel good. They feel like a good weight. They're not going to blow off or anything.
Dodd House asks, are they heavy?
Yeah, they're heavy. Not heavy like you can't lift them. Heavy, they're heavier than those plastic ones that might fly off. You won't have to put a brick on top of them, is what I'm saying. They feel like a nice heavy wooden hive top cover.
I'll tell you what, I built a super out of 1x12 that I cut down to size. And man, that's the heaviest super that I own. That thing is heavy with just medium frames in it. I was like, holy crap. And
yeah,
but it's never come off, and it's holding up better than the other ones, so it's pretty good.
Is that lumber? Was that MDF? Is what they call it?
What that Bob Benny uses?
No, what Brad was using. MDF.
No, that PVC.
Yeah, is it MDF? It's called MDF.
I don't know. It just I bought it at Lowe's. They just had it labeled as PVC flashing boards. And it's just for people who want to put up flashing, and it even has like a little texture on one side, like wood texture. And what I did, I put that on the inside because I was making them I bought at the expo, I bought those Premier Bee Propola hives there that have the grooves on the inside. I bought a couple of those because they had them in 8 frames. So I bought just to see how they are. They are some really nice boxes. They fit together good. They got good joints. The easiest box you can actually put together. You don't have to square them or anything. They just once you lock them in, they square.
All right, so I have to ask you. I think I've asked you this probably 3 times, but we've got 100 people in here, so I want a 100% honest opinion of your Apame hives. Yes, what you like?
I like them.
You like them? I thought you were one of the guys that were like, nah.
No, I always like them. Now I have the 7 frame.
Okay.
And I use them mostly for queen rearing. I divide them up into the 3 frames on each side, and that's what I'm using. That's what I'm using for partially from I got, let's see, I got seven of them right now, of the 7 framers.
So you expanded your Apimaze then?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, well,
No,
there was one hive you said you didn't like.
License.
No, I got lice. Matter of fact, I got 12 of the licensed 6-frame nukes that I had gotten last year, and they all doing good right now. The bees are doing good.
No,
But,
I had one of them, and it was a good hive, but I don't know. It's an oddball size.
What, the 6 framers?
Yeah.
Well, I'm using it to sell nukes. Because right now I got them in double deeps, the 6-frame double deeps, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pull a 5-frame nuke out of them, and then I'm gonna just requeen them and let them rebuild back up. And then if I have time later on in the spring, because they all got queens in them right now, overwintered queens that I raised in July and August. And once I pull that, because I got 15 nukes already sold, people waiting on, but I'm letting them build up because I don't want to sell them without no brood. They just starting to make brood right now. But anyhow, I'm gonna pull a 5-frame nuke, requeen the other. I'm gonna have 7 frames left over, or 8 frames. Yeah, 8 frames left over, and basically a hive left over to restart again. So, and the Apimaze, what I do, I just raise my queens in them, and then at the end of the year, I pull the divider out, take one of the queens that I have left over, put them, either start another hive or put one, just requeen another hive, and then I just let them go. And I went ahead, what I did buy this year, I bought doubles for all my Apimaze hives. So this year, they're gonna go into winter over double deeps. So that next year, I can pull either 1 or 2 nukes out of them.
Okay.
This year, I'm gonna pull a nuke out of each one, out of all 7 of them, because they're all 7 frames right now. But so when I pull my nukes, I'll have 2 frames of bees left in each one. And then I'll just grab some brood from my big hives and go ahead and do my mating all over again.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. You got it figured out.
Yeah, they increasing so much, so I just decided to just start selling a lot of overwintered queens and stuff. So I got one man that wanted 10, and I got another man that wanted 5, and I haven't even really advertised yet. So
it's amazing how people will contact you, right, and start asking you, hey, you gonna have this, you gotta have that, you gonna, what are you gonna do? So
and all I need is about 15 hives to make honey with to sell. And I got 70. I had 72 hives, and 2 died over the winter, and one of them had a bad queen, and I don't know what happened to them. They were just gone. They hadn't got robbed or anything. I don't know if something happened to the hive where they just decided the queen died and they just split or what, but gone. So far so good on 2 out of 72.
Well, it's good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a minute. You feel healthy? You're feeling all right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. That's great to hear. What about you, Big Mike? How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm getting tired of listening to everybody talk about bees, and I've done nothing but plow snow.
Well, you can come on down, man. You can come on down and help me split these. It'll take us about 30 minutes between the 2 of us. And that's including the drive to the outyard to do that side, right? So it won't take long to get through my colonies.
Man, I almost made a video. We got some snow down here. I wanted to get me a cup of coffee and go walk out in the bee yard like Ian does when he got his.
Well, you got to throw the log on the fire first, right? Put your hat on and jacket and walk out through the yard. Ian's
because we do light our fireplace for 2 weeks out the year.
We almost lit it one time. That's kind of when it snowed. It's just a nice ambiance, but it wasn't cold enough outside to really make it too cold on the inside to want to mess with it, really. Yeah,
but we force ourselves to light it. We lower the heat in the house and then
turn the AC on so you can run the.
Man, it's chilly in here. Let's build a fire.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean, it's coming soon. It's interesting that it goes from snowing 2 weeks ago to 80 degrees today, and ready to go, ready to.
I know my bees were locked in for like 2 weeks of cold weather, and then today they were like yellow pollen baskets all over the legs, just going in and out the hive.
That's what's
Zooming in and out
happening
the
with
hive.
mine too.
We got that yellow. We call them bitter weeds that are flowering right now, and the purple what you call it, something like that.
Dead nettle.
Yeah, that's blooming right now.
Do you
No clover yet, but
do you believe that this time of year that a hive without a queen will still bring pollen in, or would they bring it in because it's there to bring in, right? They need to build.
I mean, I don't know about this time of year, but I've had it where they were queenless and still bringing in pollen. So
this time of year is when I got to start watching to make sure they don't just fill the whole doggone box full of pollen, right?
Yeah.
And bind her up. So that's something that I need to start watching by next week. I'll be in them for sure to check. We're just going to get this little temperature dip, and then it's supposed to come back up. And once that happens, hopefully it stays where it is.
Yeah, but
I think they should. I think they should be bringing in pollen if they think there's a chance that they could make a queen. Where if they like wintertime, I don't know if they would bring it in if they don't have a queen. I just don't. I don't know.
Right. Well, we'll see, because all my queens that are still here are they only had last year was their first year. They're not even a year old yet, really.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it goes.
Those should do really good.
I hope so. They don't have any choice. They got to give me enough brood and eggs so I can make some splits, right? And some bees. So
how will you pull those pollen frames, Bob, and freeze them for when you graft?
I haven't. Usually,
I mean, just to get them out of there so they have room.
I mean, I could do that.
That would be a good thing for grafting.
So I could just load pollen frames in next to the graft, and
yeah. Now you might want to check one of Bob Benny's videos. He said there's a good and a bad pollen frame to put next to your bees when you're grafting. Either the bee bread or the dry pollen. I forgot which one it is, because if you look at them, they'll just stuff pollen in there, and it'll just be pollen frames. But when they add the honey to it, or the liquid to make it into bee bread, I think that's when it's better to put next to that.
Well, last time I grafted, I did have pollen frame next to the graft, but I also had on top of the frames a pollen patty, right? So they did have pollen in there and liquid feed. So
I'd have to watch the video, because he was very particular about it. He said if you put, and I forgot if it was the dry one or what, but if you put that one next to it, they won't make a big sale. But if you I think he said the bee bread was better, the wet looking one.
Because I know Michael Palmer harvests pollen and then rubs the pollen right into the frame.
Yeah.
And they go right next to the queens.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it's the dry pollen. I don't know. He said they like one of them better when it comes to making the raw jelly.
Two different beekeepers could have two different ideas.
Yeah,
right.
It's true.
Two different geographic locations as well, right? So
yeah.
There's all kinds of variables. That's one thing that makes this such an interesting chat group, is that everybody is willing to share their ideas and what happens in their areas. And I find that, really interesting. And just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for Brad or for you, Big Mike, great, or vice versa. So usually it's nice to have a bunch of stuff. I mean, people were laughing 2 years ago when I said I was keeping my bees like they do in Canada. Is it any different? No, it's beekeeping, but timing wise, right, is what I was talking about, how they count back from when they need something. If they need to have their bees ready April 1st, they start April 1st, and they start working their clock back towards them to see when they need to put pollen on to make sure that that brood has pollen and that they've had some cycles of brood. So when that happens, it's ready to go. And that was my whole philosophy. People were laughing, you can't keep bees like they do in Canada. They put them, no, not all.
It's just, you can't in certain ways, because the guys around here that ship off to California, they got to get those bees got to have brood in them anyhow, we have winter or not. So they got to get those things up to at least 8 to 10 frames of bees to be able to ship them. And I just, on one of the highways nearby, I went 2 days ago and it was hundreds of beehives out there. And today there was none. It was just the plastic left on the ground where the trucks came pick them up at night, haul them off. So they go into California.
Take them down the road.
Yep.
You don't even need to use a smoker in California. California's smoking right now.
The trucks driving down the road, the bees all stay in the hives.
Could you imagine how people would freak out when you pull up to get fuel at the truck stop and you got all these bees trying to fly around inside that netting? And some of them got to be able to get out. Hell, they can get in your suit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, on one of the, I think it was the dirt rooster or something, when he went to California or something, he was following a truck with bees, and whenever the truck stopped at the fueling station, that was it looked like a swarm, but it was just a pile of bees that had got on the side of the gas tanks or the pumping, and they were just hung up there because they escaped from all the nettings and they didn't know where to go, so they just all gathered in a ball. It was either him or the California beekeeper that was saying about that. I forgot. But
I think he went and got him from one of them truck stops or something like that down where he lives.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So
I've seen pictures of some of these commercial guys that their father and grandfather they were old, like Chevrolet straight trucks, and they had the hives piled up on the back. I don't think they even had nets. And here's this 20 pounds of bees on the outside of the box that they were just hanging there in the picture. And they'd go all the way to California like that and stay right with them.
It's amazing how they can hang on.
Yeah.
That's
of course, back then they didn't have the interstates either, so they weren't going super fast.
It's amazing. We talk about how bees can smell your shampoo and stuff that you use and how scents affect them. And I think it was not last year, but the year before, actually it was 2 years in a row. Actually, I've got a boat factory here where they fiberglass up the boat bodies, I guess the hulls, and they get a swarm almost every year there. And it just smells like straight fiberglass. If you've ever smelled fiberglass, how it stinks so bad. Yeah. And man, they just land right there, and it's and then they call me up and I go and get under their little mold that they use for this fiberglass and knock the bees into a nuke and leave it sitting there and come back and get it later. And then they call me back the next day. Oh, we got some more bees over here. And it's like on the outside of the gate post, right? And the gate guard's all worried about this little cluster swarm sitting out there. I'm like, okay, well, there's probably just leftover bees that were lost trying to get back to that swarm that I pulled out of here. But it's interesting, man. Bees don't care on the stuff they live in, right? Tires, old gas tanks, whatever you leave out there. But you put the doggone things in a hive and they have a hard time to stay alive. You leave them in a tire in the back of your double wide mobile home out in the middle of the woods and they live 10 years, and it's like, oh, no problem. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, just like the other day, Mr. Ed he had an older video that he posted of a hive that he took out of a wall where the nest was so big, it looked like they had been there for 5-6 years. And it was a well-established colony. They just kept on doing their thing. No mite treatments, no nothing. But down there, they can they can get away with it around the Gulf. I don't know what it is about down there.
I saw another video, and this goes back to what Tom was saying earlier about humidity and varroa mites, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, I don't know if it was a scientist. I don't know the person's qualifications that was actually doing the video, so I can't really lend credence to whether it's truthful, works, doesn't work. But they say that if you can maintain the humidity on a beehive over 80%, that the varroa mite cannot live in it, which is why tropical regions don't have issues with their bees dying, which may be why bees do so well down in like Louisiana, right? It's humid down there. So
yeah, especially around the New Orleans area and stuff like that, where Mr. Ed's at, and in Mississippi, the dirt rooster, he lives right close to the coast also.
Yeah.
Next to the Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America.
Well, I was Friday night before my show. I was on another chat, and there's a guy on there from Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about what they're going through over there. And remember they had those mite machines, those mite those heaters that you stuck inside the hive, and it was supposed to heat the hive up to 104 degrees and kill and all that kind of stuff. Well, what they're doing over in Australia now is they're, and the way I get it, they can have that hive at 0 mites on a wash, and in a week they got 100 mites per.
That's wash. Because all the cap brood is hatched out and let all the mites back out.
Well, what they're doing now is they're pulling all the cap brood out, and they got some kind of an oven thing.
I've seen
put it in there, and they cook it at 100 and let's say 4 degrees for so many hours. And then it kills all the mites inside that brood. The brood is fine. Then put all that back into the hive. I'm like, God almighty, we talk about labor intensive.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
That's a huge amount of work.
You'd need a lot of dipping sauce, Bob.
I know. Well, how would you, I mean, but I guess
maybe their mites are growing so fast because it's such dry humidity in certain parts of Australia.
Well, I asked him about that too, and he said Australia is basically the size of the United States, and it has different weather regions, just like the United States.
Just like the United
States. If you go down in the deep south of Australia, it's very tropical. If you go up north, they have the mountain area, and it's a lot of snow and stuff. And they do actually have, where this guy was at, he had brood 12 months out of the year. Up north, he said that they actually would have a natural brood break because of the cold.
We just don't know that about, most Americans don't know that about Australia, because everything they show about Australia is out in the middle of a desert somewhere.
Yeah,
that's all they ever show.
It looks like to me it's a damn desert.
Yeah,
but he said
every movie, anything on the news.
Yeah, all on the coastline is where everybody lives, just like here in the United States. The majority of the Americans live on the coastline. And that's where the outbreak took, and it's spreading down through the coastline and all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, I'm kind of a pessimist when it comes to varroa mites, but I just don't see any solution anywhere near in the future that they're going to go away, or the bees will be able to combat them effectively. Because if you're looking at a natural, let's let the bees adapt to take care of them. I mean, look at, it just takes so long for something like that to take place genetically that it's hard to do, right? I mean,
yeah, well, that's hard to do for a commercial guy. I would think that they have so many hives to let it happen, naturally, and they can't afford the losses,
right?
I mean, if you go treatment free, like you say, like Mr. Ed and Dirt Rooster, Mr. Ed and them, they just catch swarms to replenish their losses or whatnot, and
right.
you just got to be able to accept the losses if you go treatment free.
And well, you know, even Joey is treatment free. That's
Yeah.
Joey Rawls is treatment free. So
Mhm.
it's but he catches swarms and stuff too. So it's one of those things to where, is it possible? Yeah, you're like you said, you're just gonna have losses, and you're gonna be like me every year. Every year you're gonna find yourself with less hives, and then you gotta build yourself back up. And for me, about the numbers game is more like, I kind of am working backwards from what I need honey wise, right? Well, if I need, let's say it's just 500 pounds. Let's say I need 500 pounds of honey. Well, how many hives do I need to make 500 pounds of honey? Well, I got to make sure that that's how many hives I have in the next year, right? So I've got to have enough hives based on what my loss is going to be. So I have a good start to where I can grow to make sure I get that 500 pounds of honey. And that's kind of been the growth. Now, for me, not being a commercial guy that I've got hundreds of hives, it's not as difficult because it's hard on me, because I don't want to see my bees die, and I don't want to spend a bunch of extra money to bring in new bees all the time. But the thing is that, like, last year, not this year, but last year, I had like up to 70 colonies outside. Well, they're all drawing comb and everything, and when they die, well, now I've got comb, you know, resources I didn't have. So now I can split these new colonies a little bit easier. It is getting an easier process because my infrastructure has grown, but I don't have to go buy a lot of new boxes because I have those boxes left over from when I had 70 colonies. So I just kind of grow back into them, and then down, and then back into them, and then down. And it's kind of like peeing into a fan, right? I mean, it's just like you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you're going to get some pee on you. It's going to happen, but you just got to keep going, right? You dry off and go again. You know, that's kind of
do you do a lot of swarm trapping yourself?
No, I don't. I don't. Pretty much, like I said, my swarm traps that I place are just around my apiary to try to catch my own if I can.
I was just thinking, like, trying to get you some free bees, like get you a couple of swarm traps and different.
Well, I mean, people call me. A lot of people call me because when you Google beekeeper near me, Walker Bee Ranch comes up at top of Google, which we've talked about claiming. Make sure if you got a business, you claim that on, if that's what you're into, claim your business on Google. And that way, if you sell honey to somebody, say, hey, if you don't mind, could you leave a review? And they leave a review, you start getting some stars. And now all of a sudden, if you've got 4 or 5 beekeepers near you, guess who's on the top of the list? Well, you know, when people call for beekeeping and they Googled you, they go to the first one first, right? Hey, I've got some bees. Can you come get them? Well, where are you at? Usually they're not near me. That's the only problem, is they're a little bit further away. And then, yeah, I've been on the news a few times. I've been on, well, every news channel here and the university's channel. So usually every year when, like, we call it the green fog, right? In March, when all the pollen starts falling and there's pollen everywhere on all the windows and everything. Usually someone from some news crew will call me, hey, can we do an interview with you? Oh, sure, come on by if you want to, and we'll talk about it, you know. And it's, for me, it's good because it does bring awareness to the people who actually still watch the local news about what's going on, you know. They came when they were spraying for mosquitoes to ask what it would do to the bees and stuff like that. So more of a public service thing. But, you know, if you got time, they're definitely free bees if you do that stuff, because people will call you. And there's not a ton of beekeepers around here. Probably, sad as this sounds, everybody, I'm probably in this area. Not probably. I am the biggest honey producer within probably 30 miles from here, right? It's just is what it is. Sam, he makes honey, but that's not his business model. His business model is making and selling nukes. So does he get honey? Yeah, but he is constantly making splits from his nukes. So he's taking those frames and putting them in his nukes to sell, right? So he doesn't harvest a bunch of honey, but he does get some.
I'm really thinking this year. I'm really thinking this year, Bob, you'll do better with your out yards. I think not having your yard overloaded will help you for starters.
Yeah,
and if it does start to go well, I would look for a third yard.
Yeah, that's probably I talked to the owner of the out yard when I was out there and told him what the plan was, right? To get the numbers back up in that yard and split those hives and bring them here, and split these hives and take them there, and that should immediately, double up my numbers, hypothetically, and get things back on the right track.
You're not doubling them up in one yard.
What's that?
You're not.
No.
Quadrupling them. If you had that many alive in that yard and you doubled them all.
I had 70 hives in this yard at one time.
I get it. I end up with, I had 42 in my yard last year. A lot of them were nukes, and as soon as the nukes were big enough, they headed out, into other yards.
One thing I'm going to try this year is that flybacks, what's it called? A flyback?
Where you go shake them all out?
No, not the tearing off split, but who was it? Was it Gus Mitchell talking about?
Flyback split. I don't know what that is.
Flyback split. Yeah, I've got to do more research on it as well, but supposedly it's pretty good. Essentially, I guess you take the queen and bees out or move the hive, take the whole hive and move it and put a hive there, and then the older bees fly back there, and somehow it simulates a swarm and they generate queen cells. So we'll see how it goes. We're gonna try to do some more aggressive stuff this year as far as splitting.
Some creative splitting.
Yeah, creative splitting. Hey, Steve, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. I'll be glad to see you come in here one day again, Steve. You haven't been on in a while. So it's definitely been a learning experience for sure. Every year you learn something new, and sometimes you relearn something not to do, right? Oh, crap. I shouldn't do that. I knew that, but I did it anyway, and here we go again, right? So it's one of those things that, when you've done something with 6 years, right? This would be my 6th year. So in 6 years, you've only done everything 6 times, right? And that's not a lot if you think about it. If you've grafted every year and you've only grafted 1 time a year, well, you've only grafted 6 times, right? A year apart. So it's not even like you've done it back to back to back to back, right? It's not like you've just, for 6 years, I've done this same thing every day. No, you might as well say I've done it every day for 6 days. And then each day was a year apart, that's kind of how it goes. So, but we'll get there. We'll get things back and going, and be honest with you, this has been just a normal year. This is not an abnormal year for me. This happens every year for me. So now we're like you said, Mike, I have the out yard now. So now hopefully that takes stress off of this yard. And it gives me a place that if I make a split and I move them out there before I open them up, well, guess what? They're not going to fly back to the mother hive here, right? So I don't have to worry about losing those numbers out of that box necessarily.
Oh, I wanted to say something about that I witnessed with my bees this year. I had a bunch of nukes along a fence line, and I wanted to move them away from that fence line and get them in another location, which is about 200 feet away. Well, when we got that cold weather, I said, hey, this is a good time, lock them in, move them, they're not flying, and that way they won't go back to that old location. Well, they stayed in their box for 1 week without flying with the snow and everything else and the cold weather. When it turned warm, I walked by that fence. I had all kind of bees looking around that area. I mean, they were just piled up. Like I still had the
Really?
brick. I still had the bricks there, but there must have been at least 50 bees from each hive that was there looking by them bricks. I said, now look at this bull crap here.
They didn't forget where they lived,
They
right?
didn't forget after being locked in there a week. They went back to now. What I did, I had to move the bricks that the hives were sitting on, and once I did that, they left. But
Huh.
as long as there was something in that location, they were all hovering around those bricks because they had went get pollen, and they came back to that location there. So that's partially a load of crap locking them in for a couple of days. You can move them in the same yard. I mean, it wasn't a lot of bees, but there's at least 50 or so bees from each hive that was there,
Still
and
remember.
they wanted to go back to that location. So I guess they just went associate themselves into the other hives that were nearby.
So
But
this
as
is that
far as
flyback split. It says where you take everything but 2 frames and the queen and put them somewhere else, and the foragers come back to the original queen. So she gets all the older bees and the 2 frames and there. So they feel like they've swarmed, I guess, is what it works. But now you got this queenless colony with all the eggs and everything in it, where then they generate queen cells, right? And then you can cut the queen cells and move them that way. So there you go. The Cliff Notes version there.
Is that for that?
There you go. That's proof bees have longer attention span than humans. I think all my bees remember me because they always get mad at me.
See you, Brian.
Good night, Brian. But yeah, that's the goal, man. It's just I'm getting excited for it and ready to go. And we're gonna just do the best we can, right? That's all we can ever do, and try to make it work. But yeah, bees didn't read the books. That's right, DC. Let me see. Yeah, Steven at Avenger Homestead says, I keep 5-gallon buckets with my jacket and essentials for swarm catching in my little Accord. Yeah, I try to keep it in my truck, and that way if I get a call, I just can just jump in and go out there, right? And be ready to go. So he said when he did his flyback split, they made 12 queen cells. So yeah, we were having a chat about that, about, the age of the larva. And, some people say that emergency cells are not the best queen cells, right? And I don't know. Supposedly there's been some data out where that's not exactly true necessarily, that if they have the opportunity, they'll start emergency cells with whatever they can make emergency cells with, because some are just eggs. When they start that process, there's larvae in there, but there's also eggs, right? So they start making them with the older larva. Like you'll look in a cell and there'll be a big fat larva in there. And then as those other cells hatch, or the eggs hatch, well, then now those larvae are the appropriate age to make a queen. And then they'll also make some with that. and then they'll end up tearing down the older ones that aren't as good. So we'll see how it goes. So we got Todd.
What's up, gentlemen?
Hey, Todd.
You eat your burritos yet or your tacos yet?
No, I just got home from work. I did.
Just walking in.
Yeah, I had to do a little extra for Uncle Sam there to pay off the tax.
Well,
but anyway, it's raining out here, believe it or not. It's crazy.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Extinguishing the state.
Yeah, exactly.
So is the water flowing yet out there?
Well, that's yes, it is, but it's it's flowing, but I don't know where it's flowing. It's not flowing into the aqueduct system apparently. So I don't know what's going on. You mean the water releases from dams?
No, weren't they supposed to
flow from up north, release
flow
some
from
water
up north down the culverts or the half pipes or
the aqueduct? Yeah, I don't. All I know is what's going on around here, and they have some Army Corps engineer lakes that are in the foothills of the Sierras, and when they release it, it goes basically it's water for farmers in the summertime, spring and summer, and they're dumping it, and there's not a whole lot of snow in the Sierras right now. So when that does melt, they think it's only going to fill those two lakes up halfway. But the thing is when they let it out, it goes out. It may eventually find itself in the aqueduct, but it doesn't go directly into the aqueduct, which kind of, I don't know what's going on.
Politics.
Yeah, it's like everything else. But it'll get figured out as soon as somebody starts reporting back that that water is not going down the aqueduct. No, but it is raining, so who knows? They might not need it.
Drain the Swamp said, "Is Ian looking forward to being a U.S. resident?" I haven't spoke with Ian recently. I saw a Joe Rogan podcast clip, and he said there's an easy way to fix the southern border. Just take over Mexico, then they're all legals. It's because Mexico is America.
Yeah.
And then they won't be fighting to get in because they're in just down south. So I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff, but yeah, it's not going to happen. I don't want it to happen, man. That's like someone coming here and say, we're just going to take you over. No, I don't want that to happen either. I like my Canadian friends. And I also like different cultures and different ways of thinking about stuff. So I even spent several hours on the video chat here today with my relatives in Germany. And everybody, no matter who it is, says, so how do you like the fact that Trump is in office? I said, well, I like it. I said, a lot of people do and a lot of people don't. It's kind of down the middle type of deal. And then they say, well, I wish we had a Trump here in office. So, and that's from Germany. People I haven't talked to in over a year. And I'm just saying that other people, you might think one way or another, and I don't care how you think politically. It doesn't make a difference to me. We can still be friends because I can rationally talk to anybody, unless you're unrational. No, I'm just kidding. But
I watched a clip of the press secretary for Trump. She was standing out in front of the White House, and I forget what they were talking about. What's this DEA? This
DEI
thing,
and inclusion.
She was talking about they had a list of stuff that the taxpayers were spending money on, like all these different programs that were just
in other countries. It's not even our country.
Yeah. And she said it was just, and she just come out and said total bullshit. And I'm like, really? She actually said that? Yeah. It's like, boy, they're really, this it's just plain
Common sense.
common sense language there.
Yeah.
That, you know, we're done. We're done, you know, tippy toeing around the rose bushes and stuff. We're just gonna
I hate
come
to
out
tell
and
you,
say
I've
it
never
like it
really
is.
tippy-toed.
You never really tippy
Hey,
toed.
Mike doesn't
Yeah.
tippy toe.
Well, I mean, it's politics are politics, you know. It's you're not going to make 100% of the people happy with whatever you do and anything. So, and that's one thing I've learned on YouTube. You definitely can't.
I was going to run for Congress a few years ago, and I decided I'm going to get 2 hives. And so now look at me.
You're going to get 2 what?
I decided I would get 2 hives instead. Now look at me.
2 hives and said, I could run for Senate or I could become a beekeeper. Beekeeper's a lot less drama. Unless you're a YouTube beekeeper, then you're not.
Now
you're
you're
not free of
battling
drama.
ants.
You're gonna get stung either way.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly right.
That's pretty good.
But I'm just kidding on that. I would never. Politics is a great game. No thanks.
You get into a hive of bees or a hive of bottom suckers,
Yeah.
bottom feeders.
Shirley, your taxes bought condoms for Afghans.
I seen that. $50 million for condoms for Afghans.
Jeez.
I mean, who comes up with stuff like that? It must be the condom factory.
My question
Someone lying in their pocket.
is somebody really lining their pockets, because I know one guy who went to jail where he was selling what was it? He was selling golf balls to the government for ball bearings, and he got caught. He got caught. He went to jail.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's
But I was watching the news while y'all was talking. They were just scrolling because they were talking about the same thing y'all talking about. They were scrolling all the different 60 billion for this, 80 billion for this, and it was stupid stuff. Transgender studies in Africa.
Yeah.
Why do we care? Why is our tax? We got bridges that could be built for $50 million. I mean, come on.
When I got home, Brad, I turned that same channel on. I was watching that scrolling list, and I just said, "Oh God!"
You don't
crazy.
believe it unless they put it in your face and see how stupid your congressmen and senators are for actually signing bills to send that stuff over there.
I heard a commenter, Jericho. His name's Jericho Green, and he was going over some of this exact same stuff. And sorry that the chat went so far away from beekeeping, but this was hilarious and yet not hilarious all at the same time. We sent, I think it was $3 million to do a study on the anal mucosa of the girly boys in Thailand. So they spent $3 million to stick a Q-tip in girly boys' buttholes to test the mucosa. As far as, I'm like, really, $3 million? And yeah, it's funny, but it's funny that they are stupid enough to spend that money, but it's not funny because it was our money, right?
Well,
it's our money.
Meanwhile, we've got homeless vets out on the street that are starving, and we're buying condoms for Afghanistan and sticking Q-tips up derrieres. You got to draw the line somewhere.
Well, there you go.
My question is why are we funding everybody else around the world instead of just us?
The only reason we fund everybody around the world is because our politicians get rich from the kickbacks.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, every politician lives off of a government salary, but yet they all leave multi-millionaires when they retire.
Yeah.
It's not possible off a government salary to be leaving like Nancy Pelosi. She's worth like $300 something million.
Alex said, Jesus, I drop in for beekeeping and Bob's talking about Thai buttholes.
You
So,
know,
I
Brad,
mean,
there was a kid that developed a website that followed Nancy Pelosi's investing, and people would pay in to get into this information or get this information. They start making a lot of money. They're watching her trades because it has to be, it's public information.
I mean, it's just a miracle. Her husband is freaking amazing because he can drop a dime in the stock market and turn it into $1 million the next day.
Yeah.
When he had no heads up about the frost on the oranges in Florida that's going to cause. It's just so.
Well, they had they said that I saw Grant Cardone do a speech and said Nancy Pelosi's net worth is $200 million, yet she's never made over $180,000 in her life.
Yeah.
So
just her face cost $100 million that she had replastered there the last couple of years.
Hey, no, man, I'm gonna get in trouble. I gotta shut up because maybe she just went down to the border into Mexico and had some of them illegals just use some of that damn sheetrock mud that they're so good at using.
I don't think you guys know this. You know who Nancy Pelosi's nephew is?
Yeah, your governor.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom.
What?
Gavin Newsom's aunt is Nancy Pelosi.
No nepotism there, I'm sure.
Oh my God! I wish you wouldn't even told me that.
Hey, I'm living the dream every day.
So he's your governor, you say?
Yeah,
Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, you know where she come from, don't you? She came from Baltimore.
Oh, really?
I was thinking she
and
came
her
from one of those
her father was the the mayor of Baltimore.
Oh, you know what though? That department,
and he was part of the,
the mafia.
Got that right.
You know that U.S. aid that you're talking about with all this spending all over the place.
Yeah.
That they had a protest about Elon Musk shutting everything down, right? Like that treasury or spending and everything. Today, guess who was leading the charge? The representative from Maryland over there.
No, it was Elizabeth Warren.
Well, there was a lady out. They were standing on the street with a bunch of people.
I thought you meant the ones that.
You talk about Chuck Schumer was out there with a bunch of people.
Well,
protesting.
And they were just talking. You know, why would they be protesting saving the U.S. taxpayers' money?
Because it hits their back pocket. They're just thieves. They. What gets me, it's laughable because they stuck Martha Stewart in jail for a couple of years for inside trading, just because she sold something that someone told her, hey, you better go ahead and sell this because it's fixed up. I mean, she just got some advice and they stuck her in jail.
Right.
And here are these senators.
You know something, Brad? She pissed off the wrong person, and then they slammed her.
Oh yeah, because I had never heard of somebody with,
that kind of stature.
Yes, be in charge and stuck in jail without even making a deal to get out. Pay money or whatnot. Because a lot of them just make deals. They pay a nice fine and then they get out of jail time. But
I wonder how much money is in that fund to help identify why mites are killing bees. Right? Nothing. Right? Important stuff. Nothing.
No, they won't give a dime for something like that. But they'll do gender studies in Afghanistan and condom drops and stuff like that. But
Mike, so answer Charlie's question again. So Charlie asked the question, where did Nancy Pelosi come from? What did you say, Mike?
I think from one of those Q-tips. I knew you were the only one that heard me.
All right, guys, we got to rein this back into beekeeping. We got 20 minutes left of beekeeping. We've already lost 15.
What we need to do is on an off night set up a political chat.
I talked to Brad about that yesterday. I was like, you know what would be cool, because we talked for a couple of hours about politics. and it was very civil discussions, right? Asking each other about, well, what does your country feel about the tariffs and this and that, and you know, and it was very civilized. It wasn't like we were accusing anybody of anything, nothing like that. It was just, you know, what is the feeling you're getting from what you're hearing, and what is the feeling I'm getting from what I'm hearing, type of stuff. And it, you know, I actually said it would be for a separate YouTube channel, right? Don't do it on the beekeeping channel. Just have a separate channel and do it there. But
the only thing I've seen on the news was that they were pulling all the whiskey off the shelves and the wine up there.
Yeah.
I ain't quite sure what all that was about. I mean,
because it's a U.S. product.
They don't want, But, you know, here's the thing. Nobody's had to pay any tariffs because they came to at least a short-term agreement on what was going to happen. And
but
so what was it? Canadians pulled all that off so they couldn't drown their sorrows?
Well, the one last thing about that, the tariffs, there shouldn't even be tariffs, because if we all were on equal grounds of trading, then there wouldn't have to be a tariff. But the United States gets screwed by so many countries. They tariff, like talking about Canada, they're $60 billion over tariffing us compared to what we tariff them. So, I mean, anything that we send into their country, they tax by $60 billion compared to what we tax on them. And all he wanted to do was make it even to where what you tax, we tax. Same thing with Mexico and China. They get billions of taxes from us that we don't even get from them when we send our goods over there. So it's all an uneven playing ground. And when you try to make things even, they all go crying. That's why they're giving in, because they know they're robbing us, and they giving in so quick. You know, Mexico, what they did, in Canada, what they did. But
I heard something today, and I think it was Trump actually speaking this. I've watched so much that it was having to do with Germany, because I kind of keep up when someone says Germany, I listen, because my mom's whole family is there. So, like specifically European automobiles that we buy here, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, stuff like that, that we tax at a import tax of like 2%. But stuff they get from us is like 30% tax.
Exactly. We sent a Ford over there, and it costs more than a BMW or Mercedes here. I mean, come on. I mean, and then you try to get the same thing out of them, and they start crying that we're robbing them. No, they all upset because they've been sucking off the U.S. for so long, and the taxpayers just keep footing the bill. That's all it is.
All right, back to bees.
Yes,
We've had our news updates. So, Todd, you're the last one to come in today because of your geographic location, and we appreciate you being here. What's the step? What's your next steps? What's going on? What do you have shaking out there?
Pretty much what that video said. I don't know if everybody's seen it, but I goofed up big time and didn't get the chance to requeen last year or make some grafts. And I had a bunch of 2 and 3 year olds out there this year that just started failing, and one after another, they just, the hives just dwindled and they disappeared. And
so what you've got is what Charlie had last year.
Correct.
Exactly.
And I've got a ton of brood comb that I had to do something with. So I treated it, and that stuff works. That's another video I put out today. But I am never, ever again going to let a queen sit out there after two Aprils. After the oranges are done in the middle of April, that's it. She's done, and I'll start. I'll replace her with a virgin or a cell, a mated queen that I have going on somewhere else. I'm not going to. I don't care what the weather is. It could snow here in April. I'm still going to graft.
Right.
It came up so fast. it just ran me over like a tank. And yeah,
That's
lesson
that's
learned.
that stuff you were using. What was it called again?
It's Hygienic Boost.
Yeah, I seen your video. I forgot what the name of it was.
I've
It's
got it on
great.
my site, and Todd's got it on his site as well.
It's awesome stuff. You know, I think for
It's like $20.
yeah, but you could get like a little mini trough, something big enough to dunk a frame in. You
Mm-hmm.
get enough of the packages, you could go through 300-400 frames, just dunk them in there. All you need is contact.
Now,
Dunk
how long before, like, let's say you spray them, can you put them back on the bees? Like, let's say you get a dead out, and you say, "Oh, I want to protect these," and you
It's
do
all
it. and you say-
natural, so as long as it's dry, it's good to go.
Yeah, when
Oh,
it's dried,
okay.
it's done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the bees don't avoid it at all.
No, it just keeps it. The wax moths don't like it. They don't care for it. They won't hit the frame if it's on there.
There's something in there that they don't want to get near it. Whether it's a smell they smell or what.
I got some right here. Let me see.
They don't like it at all. So,
Let's be it. Where is it?
but it's really, really handy. Like
This year, I used that stuff that they actually make for it, and it's worked good so far, but it's expensive.
the BT.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is the basically the same concept of BT, except it's not BT.
Okay.
But it is all natural.
So
It doesn't have a bad odor to it. It has an earthy smell to it when you're spraying it. You can get it on your hands. It's not going to do anything to you. I mean, you know, I wouldn't.
And
drink.
how much does that bag make?
This makes
That's a 1
a
gallon.
gallon. This makes 1 gallon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But like I said, if you get like a kind of just a wide bucket, wide enough to dunk a frame, buy 2-3 bags, and if you've got a lot of frames, and boom, you're done. Then you do it like you do it a couple 3 weeks later. You have to do 2 coats or 2 applications, and that's
How far apart?
3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did mine 4 weeks apart. But even then, even after the first treatment and before the second one, there were no wax moths in there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, they don't like it.
I wouldn't get it.
What's that?
DC was asking, how many bags do you think you would need for a tub to dunk frames?
Depends on how many frames
and how wide the thing is, right? If it's just a thing that you can dump 1 frame in at a time, it probably wouldn't.
I think you'd be better off with a sprayer. You use less, because like a 5-gallon bucket, you'd almost need 5 bags.
I put mine in a 2-gallon pump sprayer.
Yeah.
And then just misted the frame on both sides. And then I got lazy at the end, and I just misted it over the top of the box, tilted it up, misted it under the bottom of the box. No problem.
Well, that's good, because that BT I used, I had to take out every frame and spray every frame. But still, I did like you did with a 2-gallon sprayer, and 1 gallon of liquid was enough to do a bunch of boxes. I even had some left over. So
I think one of those bags will do about 100 frames.
Yes, I mean, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And for $20, I mean, that Sertan is what, $53 for a little bottle?
Yeah.
So
that's what I kept saying BT, but yeah, Sertan.
You do your honey supers also, Todd?
No. But you can if you want.
Distribute comb.
I
don't usually get wax moth in my honey supers. It's only usually in my comb.
Yeah,
only if they had a little bit of brood in them before. That's it. But
yeah, you can use it on those. It's like I said, it's like Bob said, it's all natural. So when it dries out, they can put
from the makers of Appy Tablet, right?
I mean, we don't have no problem in the wintertime, but any other time, man, they will eat through every box you got around here.
Yeah. They get bad for me in Oh, July, late July, then they
Mhm.
start showing up. And if you have a box that's empty,
Well,
good luck.
we get them before that, because if you have a dead out in the spring and you turn that box and like you just forget about it, let's say in March, come April or beginning of May, it's gone.
Yeah,
It's all webbed out.
yeah,
As soon as it turns warm here, that's it. They're gonna web it out.
yeah, yeah. They're nasty here. But
See. Anybody
and
got any final thoughts today on what's anything they want to bring up or news or anything?
the one thing though that I had a question about, where actually I was questioned, was I shared Apimon's post on, I forgot where it was
On the
at.
fondant?
Yeah, with the fondant.
But it's not on their website. I looked.
Yeah, I texted him today and I said, "Hey, did you know it's not on there?" And I haven't heard back from him. He read it though, so I don't know if it's on there now. But yeah, he's advertising, but there's no way anybody can order it.
Right.
Right.
They got a fondant now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a fondant.
In true Apamon fashion, it's always late. He talked to me about this last fall. I said, "Yeah, it'd be a good idea."
I hope it's cheaper than Hive Alive.
I'm guaranteed it's cheaper than Hive Alive.
I bet it is.
I don't even know the price, but I guarantee it's cheaper than Hive Alive fondant.
I don't know how people deal with that, because I mean, I watched some videos and they're like, "Man, this is their fourth bag of Hive Alive, and they got like 20 hives." I mean, gee whiz.
And that stuff like $6 a pound or something.
Yeah, I mean, you put in four bags, and man, get you some dry sugar if it's costing you that much. I mean, that's expensive.
Depending on whose videos you're watching, and I'm not asking you. Don't say I don't care. It don't matter. But what I do know is Hive Alive is very proactive within YouTube communities about making sure people get samples and coupon codes to promote their product. So that is one reason why some of these people can afford to put all that on their colonies.
Yeah.
Or if they only have, like, let's say 2 or 3, 5, 10 colonies, it's not that much when you're getting 50% off a box, right?
Yeah.
So
I texted him right now to see how much it is and how much it weighs.
in about 3 months you'll get that back, because he doesn't know. He'll have to go ask Gonka what the price is, and then he'll
I can text her too.
That's what you need to text. How much is the fondant? Why isn't it on the website?
See, I use Hive Alive fondant, but I don't use it on my big colonies. I use it. I cut it in half and use it on my double nukes. You know, if they need it.
Right.
And, I have 70 of them. I don't want to make sugar bricks. I just don't have the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it saves 2 colonies that I'd be selling in the spring, that's $500. I've saved $150. Buying 5 boxes.
Yeah, but you must not be as tight as we are, though.
Yeah, but I got 70 nukes, For me to,
Yeah, but too far. I mean, I just made up 32 little.
and then I got to put shims on and everything else. I don't want to do that. I just want.
Well, I mean,
I cut the bag in half and I put it on there if it needs it. If
I mean,
not,
it has its places.
Oh, I don't feed like they do. No way would I ever go 4. I feed them up. If it's an emergency, it's emergency. If
well,
not,
that's how I think it. That's how I
nothing.
think it could be. That's how I think it should be used. But I see some of them putting it on there, and their boxes are still full of honey. Why are you putting that on top? And you got honey in the boxes.
Some of them start the fall season off with them on.
Yeah.
I don't even look at mine until the end of February.
Yeah.
See, for me, that would be something that I would have done like last month when it was getting close to the end of winter and their stores might be low. Then, yeah, maybe I could, throw some of that on there if I had it. But as well as I do, Brad, when the temperature starts up here, that fondant starts running.
Yep.
It just drips, right?
We can't use it if it's gonna. You got to use it in the dead of winter, or it's gonna be at the bottom of the hive in between the frames. Because I mean, like next week we're supposed to have 80-degree days. So I mean, we can't have that stuff in the hive.
Cost versus reward, right, Big Mike?
What's that?
Cost versus reward.
Well, yeah, sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll do stuff like that. I don't always get the cheapest thing out there, right? If my time is worth something to me, right? So, yeah.
But that's
like me building boxes. I'd rather buy the boxes, even though I have the lumber and the machinery. I don't have the machinery to do the finger joints.
You don't need to do lap joints. They work just as well. I don't have a finger joint amongst mine.
You talk about like a rabbit joint. You said?
Yeah, it's got less exposure to the weather. They don't rot as fast.
That's how I made my my first hives, and they still going.
Well, Bobby sent me a picture of the packaging, but
send it over to me.
All right. I mean, all it is a picture of fondant.
It's probably a kilogram package or something like that. So it's probably 2.2 pounds.
Yeah, it looks like 2 pounds.
Looks like February 17th we'll have a high of 40.
Oh, wow.
The only problem I have with fondant, I got some, and trying to cut it, and it's sticky and it's messy, and then it dries out, which I didn't think about, using a baggie to put it in and then cutting a hole in it. Once I got rid of that 50-pound cube, I said, I'm done with this stuff.
Oh, you bought the big old block?
Yeah, our clubs buy that kind of stuff up here.
Oh, okay.
And all, but I did it once or twice. I'm like, I'm done with this. And it was at a point in time in my bees where if we go into the hive area, they pretty much had plenty of honey.
Jeremy said, I'm glad we only have 3 weeks of winter. That's true. That's true stuff.
I went over to my mentees. He had 2 hives this year, first year beekeeper. He did very well. And he just recently lost one. And then he has this thermal camera and he says, I think I lost the other hive. And he's a very serious young kid. So a friend of mine and I went over Saturday. We're going to do an autopsy on his hive. I get over there. There's bees all over the snow. I said, one of your hives is alive. He says, how do you know? I said, the dead bees don't fly.
Right. They get dropped off.
Peeked in. They were doing well. So
Well,
he was pretty excited.
Yeah, it was like Monday. I looked at my nukes and they weren't flying and they weren't up at the top except for one nuke. And then I went out there today and every one of them was out because it got warmer and they were all out flying. So they're in there. I just, there's just, like I said on the video, it's too cold to be messing with them. And it's supposed to be icy starting 6 o'clock tomorrow night and maybe snow and same way on the weekend and everything else. So they're buttoned down for the rest of the week, though. That's probably stay inside and never come out.
Well, Charlie, you should try Matt's recipe on that fondant. That stuff works great. And you put it in a bag, and then you cut a little window in it. And you put that down on the top.
What's he make it himself?
Yeah, he's got a video out. I've done it a few times now. It's
who is that?
Matt at Sandy Valley Honey.
Oh, okay. Is it like a soft fond that he's doing?
Yeah. And
don't he has to whip it after he balls it?
Yeah. So you boil it and then you let it cool for a little bit and then you put that bit in there.
And he had some Hive Alive to it too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I got.
And some Apis, maybe. I don't remember.
Well, with apis, you got to be careful with the temperature because you'll kill the good enzymes and bacteria that's in it, right? The good enzymes. You kill them with temperature.
I don't usually use pollen patties, but I bought some apis this year and I'm going to try it.
It's for me. I mean, for you, it'd probably be. Do you have a big mixer, or how would you mix it in a 5-gallon pail or something?
A lot of times I mix pollen patties. I have a short hoe and a mason's trough, and I just do it in that.
I got you.
Like mixing concrete.
Just like concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the sheetrock drills if I need them. I just put it up on my workbench, so I don't have to bend over.
Bear with me a minute, Bob. I got some info. Pricing.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough on I used to use my battery DeWalt drill. It's tough on that battery DeWalt with that paddle.
What you gotta
I
do-
made a small batch of pollen patties in my KitchenAid mixer, but you can't put enough stuff in there to make more than about 5-6 patties at a time. So it's not
It's not working.
not very quick if you do it that way.
So, Brad, just go to the smaller paint mixer, and it's a lot easier on your drill. They have different sized ones.
Yeah,
go down to the Go to the medium instead of the big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I usually do mine in a 5-gallon bucket, and I was using that paddle, and it's hard. But I bought me one of those little round red ones, and it does a lot better.
Yeah.
But I use electric drill now too. It does even better.
If you can find someone with the old ones with the T handles.
That's the one I got. I got a big belly drill.
I got one of those.
Oh Lord, I
got a big Black and Decker job. And it's got that white cast iron to it.
You go to yard sales and people are selling them for $5. I said, okay.
That's the ones that break your wrists if you don't hold them right. They got some power to them.
Yeah, I got right angle drills. I got a whole hog. Whole hog will break your wrist and your arm.
Man,
he's calling him.
He's on the bat phone. He's on the bat phone.
He's trying to get information about the fondant. It's a little late here for fondant, but
yeah, it's almost over now.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So we won't find out today, apparently. You have to stay tuned for the next live stream.
It must have been secretive. He said, get us off the YouTube channel, which is a secretive talk.
That's funny. Oh, wait, he's coming back.
Well, first of all, it's not on the website right now.
He's not mute. I'll mute him. I muted you, Todd, and then you just unmuted you. There you go. But let me see. Protein and feed ASAP. Yep.
I agree with you, Mark, on that statement.
What was it? Hondas for fancy cakes and quilt boxes.
For quilts.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, this is the first year I went as a condensing hive, and I like it. It doesn't let all the damn heat out and stuff. And I haven't had any moisture problems either.
I haven't had any moisture problems yet that I'm aware of.
I mean, I'll vent throughout the summertime, but as far as the wintertime, putting that insulation on and all that really worked well.
All those new styrofoam hives and stuff like that people are getting into, they don't use ventilation on them no more. They just
that's called a condensing hive, and it's the same. It's what you really should have. I mean, it's all insulated for the wintertime and it works fine. And all. And your bees don't eat as much and everything else. But the problem I have with every insulated manufacturer on the market today, None of them. And I commented, I see where Hilco came out with one, and I'm like, John, you know, you got the same box that everybody else has got. I says, not one of your manufacturers out there in the country today have a designated port designed to be able to put a 400-degree vaporizer nozzle in it without melting that box.
That's right.
Not one. Now, Hilco came out with the first, I kept complaining about it for years. Why can't they slant the bottom of that extractor so all the honey drains out the front door through the darn port, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he came out with one like that. And I'm like, there's not a box, like I say, insulated box manufacturer. Two things. You got to have a port that's not in the back of the box part, but let's say designed in the bottom board part, so you can keep switching boxes around. And then you have a insulated hive that can be easily mated up with the existing 10 frame supers or 8 frame supers out of wood on top. And then you use the insulated part just to get the hive through the wintertime. And all. There's not one out there.
Well, I think the Apame, like 10 frames and stuff, you can put a box right on top of them.
Yeah, but there ain't one out there that's got a vaporizer hole in the back end of it.
No,
not one. And then you had LaRabi's trying to use that pan thing to go up underneath there, and that was so expensive. You know,
well,
wasn't
the way I do mine. I just I bought that little insulation thing. I just do it in the front.
Yeah, but you still melt them a little bit, do you?
No, not with that insulation deal.
Yeah,
it doesn't melt them.
Is
But
that the insulated tip?
Yeah, the little tip.
Yeah, I just bought them.
That little white Teflon. But make sure you stick it all the way on too, that it's flush with the nozzle, because if you leave it stuck out a little bit, it builds up crust at the end, because it actually cools off when it comes out the copper, and it'll crust up the hole when you got to unstop it. But if you push it all the way on, it doesn't do that. And you got to watch, because sometimes, like when you stick it in like an Apame, when you pull it out, sometimes they'll grab it and pull it off just a little bit. You don't notice, but it keeps from melting the hives. But if you lose them, they're $20 a piece.
That's total bull.
Well, I looked up at the expo. They were selling 2 in a pack for, I think, $15. They're actually on sale. So I went ahead and bought 2 more. But if you buy them on the internet, it's like $20 or $24 for one.
Todd, tell him he's going to have to hurry up, or he's not going to get his information out today. Because I got a job interview in the morning.
Yeah, DC Hive IQ is only 9 frame boxes. But yeah. I don't know. I haven't looked at all the different styles, but I know some of them will marry up a wooden box to it easily, and some of them don't. I know, like a license. I mean, you got that real thick walls. Depends on how they got it meshed. You know, whether it's like a.
Oh, it's flat though. The license box is flat.
Yeah.
I had one, and it was a nuke like you got, Brad, but I sold it last summer.
The Apame hives, the only bad thing about putting a wooden box on top, they're slick. They slide. Now the license,
there you go. There's a design flaw. Design it so it doesn't do that.
The license one doesn't slide that much. The styrofoam, it kind of grabs the wooden box, so you set it on top and it's there. But that Apame hive, it will, you got to watch what you're doing. Now, now if they had some propolis around the top and it's hot, it'll stick. But other than that, like if it's a new box or you just put it on for the first time of the year, you got to be careful with it, because it'll slip off a little bit and then there it goes off the back. That's the only problem I had with them.
Yeah.
Which can make a big mess though if you're not watching. If you got 10 frames of bees above and you knock it off, makes a big mess.
Well, it's amazing how we can stack wooden boxes and the bees will glue them together. Because that was the first thing when I remember asking the teacher there when I was taking a bee class. I mean, I said, you mean you don't lock them? They're not put together somehow? Nope. They just stack them on top and they glue them together and they stay there. So anyway, but that's what I found. I've been looking at all these insulated hives. They just don't. They're just not.
Didn't know Todd was going to have a corporate meeting on the middle of the live chat. Hey, how much does this cost? Okay, great. Thanks.
How much should I tell him?
Yeah.
What's my profit? Well, that's not enough.
Yeah. So it's
he's doing the art of the deal right now.
Right. I'm going to tariff that. Todd, hurry up. We got to end this thing. This is the issue I have dealing with Mehmet right here. Is getting an answer. You own the company. You bought the stuff. How much are you charging? You're advertising, you're selling, and how much is it? I don't know.
I met him at the expo this year.
He's a heck of a nice guy.
Just not organizational.
Yeah, his wife is the organizer for sure.
He is a character.
When we went to North Carolina, I met him at the North Carolina Beekeepers Association meeting. I mean, he's been here to my house, but I've met him at a beekeeping convention, and he's like, "Come on, let's go get something to eat." And then we go to the Chinese buffet, right? It's like, now you must think I can really eat, you know? Go to the buffet. Everybody sit here at Todd and look at him like this. Okay, everybody in the chat, throw up this emoji like what? I don't know.
Oh, wait, he's off the phone. And here we go.
Oh, you guys waiting?
We're waiting on you. We're trying to end this
hang on,
meeting, but we're waiting on you.
We're waiting to hear. He doesn't know.
All right. Here's the deal. So it's a 1 kg bag, like Bob said, it's 2.2 pounds. And he will sell it for $5 a bag plus shipping, whatever shipping is. So Hive Alive is $15.99 a 1 kg bag, and he's gonna sell his for Hive Alive sells for $15.99 on Man Lake. So he's going to $5 or $5.99, somewhere right in there.
A third of the price.
Yeah, plus shipping. So,
wait, a 2.2 pound bag is $15 on Man Lake
for Hive Alive, yeah.
For Hive Alive fondant.
I buy it from Hive Alive. It's like $70 for 30-pound box.
30 pound. It's a 30-pound box.
It's 15 packs.
We were just looking at the regular. Let me look. I'll find
anyway, there's some confusion right at the moment, it appears, on pricing, but
so a single patty of Hive Alive on Man Lake right now, a 2.2 pound 1 kg patty is $15.99.
That's why I don't use Man Lake.
Yeah, they're a little expensive
Man Lake. Dayton's probably pretty similar. So
what is it on Hive Alive for individual? Obviously, if you're buying the case, you get a price break, right? I mean,
yeah,
but
I think
well,
it's 70 something dollars, but if you're a first time buyer, you get a 15% discount. So you buy 5 boxes, you save some money.
So the other pricing schedule they have on their website is a 35 pounds of Hive Alive, which is 15 kg or 15 patties, you know, the bags.
Yeah.
And that's $119.99.
Clay paid $70 for 15 bags.
But again, this is Man Lake, you know.
Yeah.
So
is that the California price?
Let me look.
The California price?
Yeah,
no,
they don't ship it. They don't ship it here. It causes cancer, so we can't get that.
Stop eating it.
Stop eating it.
But anyway, that's the deal. And I guess Mamet's talking about making bigger versions.
He's on the chat right now.
Yeah,
Is he?
He comes in the chat when Todd calls him. He's disowned me. He doesn't call me anymore.
So he's got other ideas. So we'll see what happens. But I think it's a great price. You know, $5, $5 a bag. And again, plus
right
shipping.
now, Better Bee has Hive Alive found it a 1 kg bag for $6.29.
Holy cow! Why is Man Lake so high?
Because they're Man Lake.
That's crazy. That's a crazy difference in pricing.
Yeah. Now that's just now Better Bee, you have to pay your shipping also. Man Lake anything over $150 is free shipping. So they it's not really free shipping. You're paying for it.
Right.
Now if you go to Hive Alive, let's see.
Jeremy said, "Hate on Man Lake all you want, but they make the best frames and foundation."
I like their foundation. I
like
the right sail. I like the right sail foundation.
I ran into some suspect frames last year that got through Q&A or QC, I mean.
Yes, I have an interview tomorrow with Spectrum. So we'll see how that goes.
Is that like a cable company?
Yeah, the cable company. So we'll see how that goes. Again, I got to have something, so we'll see how it shakes out. And I don't even have to go anywhere. It's a video interview on computer, so we'll see.
How much is Hilco?
Well, he said it was $6 and something for a pack.
Oh wow.
Okay, at Hive Alive, 15 packs of the 1 kg is $79.95. Off the Hive Alive website.
That's $40 cheaper than Man Lake.
Well, that's probably because they're probably buying it at the same thing from this website as a bulk discount.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe we can get y'all a better deal somehow with Mamet. We'll see what we can do. But anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all coming in. We still have 81 people on. That's amazing. Over 100 at one time. Appreciate everybody coming and stopping by and hanging out with us and having a good old time. And, obviously, our illustrious panel this evening, Mike and Brad and Todd, and, of course, always Charlie.
Superstar Charlie. Hey, Charlie was a superstar at the expo. Just to let you know.
I might have to go next year just to witness it.
I asked where I was asking people, have y'all seen Charlie? And they said he's walking around with the media.
With his entourage, he's got
his entourage taking pictures. And
if I go next year, I'm going to hire Big Mike to walk around with me everywhere in shades with a big gold chain on and a hat and just stand there silent with his arms crossed as security guard.
I'll be following behind Charlie, picking up all the popcorn he's dropping.
That's how you find him. Follow the popcorn crumbs on the ground.
Or if he's outside, you follow the pigeons.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a good evening, and we'll see you on the next stream. Thank you so much.
See everyone in St. Louis on Friday.